All right, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on into today's Flyers game recap as we're looking at Tuesday night's victory for the Philadelphia Flyers. They took care of Columbus in a 5-3 game. And look, it's a great win, and I'm not taking anything away from a victory because I definitely felt like the Flyers worked their butt off. Columbus is definitely dealing with their fair share of injuries. They're dealing with their own shenanigans up over there. I mean, the Flyers are as well. Let's not get it twisted. But there's also been some other drama with the Kevin Hayes situation. So I am curious about what is the dynamic in that locker room going on right now. But at the end of the day, the Flyers were able to put all the bullshit aside and were able to come out here and put together a solid performance. Look, Columbus gave it their all as well here in this game, but the Flyers definitely found a way to get the job done. So you definitely give them credit for that. In this game, however, with the lines, as we always start off with, you had Morgan Frost on your top forward line, centering James Van Riemsdyk and Owen Tippett. Your second line was Noah Cates, centering Joel Farabee and Travis Konecny. Your third line, Scott Lawton, centering Kevin Hayes and Zach McEwen. Your fourth line, Patrick Brown centering Nicolas Deslauriers, and the return of Wade Allison after missing what was 5 weeks. It was really good to see Wade Allison come back. That was some bright news considering the fact that, listen, the injury news with the Flyers have been very bleak, so take it where you can. And this is obviously a great moment to have Mr. Wade Allison back. Your defensive pairings, Ivan Provorov was matched up with Rasmus Ristolainen. Travis Sanheim was with Tony DeAngelo. Cam York with Justin Braun. And in net, you had Carter Hart again, which I'll get to my gripe with that in just a second. But this was a game where, listen, goals galore. But the Philadelphia Flyers were finally able to score some goals. And to start it off, the Flyers had two great opportunities in the first period. You had a solid opportunity by Kevin Hayes, who was wide open, just a lot less to be desired on that shot. Owen Tippett, a little bit after that, had a nice opportunity. You had Nyquist, who had a shot just ring off the post shortly after that in the first period. The Flyers would draw blood first at 6:12. It left into the period. Carter Hart would get a nice save. Travis Konecny would go coast to coast, show off some skill, and the Flyers would go up 1-0 on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's how we would start off this game. Flyers go into the second period with a 1-0 lead. We don't always say that as well. You know, this is a team that typically starts off games on the right note, but as we have seen, when this team does start off the first period on a good note, typically good things do happen to this hockey team. Now we move into the second period, 14:02 left into it. Jake Christensen from the blue line takes a shot near the net, and then you had Kirill Mishenko get a nice little deflection in there. Not much Carter Hart can do there, and that would tie things up for the Columbus Blue Jackets, getting it 1-1. Flyers just failed to get the puck out of the zone there, and Christensen was able to just get a puck where Marchenko was able to get that deflection. Columbus kept putting pressure in the second period. It was a period for the Jackets that it just had us worried. It had the Flyers on their heels, and the Flyers had to kind of battle through. And you give them credit because 11:19 left into the period, 3 minutes after the Blue Jackets goal, the Flyers would get themselves yet again. After that, 3 minutes later, the Jackets would get back on top, get the lead here. 11:19 into the period, 3 minutes later, like I mentioned, terrible. Those are a bad turnover by Travis Konecny, kind of loses the puck. And then just some terrible defense in the neutral zone by the Philadelphia Flyers. Then you get Gus Johnson with Patrick Laine on a 2-on-1 situation in which Johnson was able to rip one into net. And the Blue Jackets would then get the lead, like I mentioned, 2-1 lead here for the Blue Jackets, and so that was definitely that's a little bit of adversity there for the Philadelphia Flyers, like we mentioned. But minute left into the second period, we had the Flyers get back up. Cam York with a great dump off, just a smart dump off to Morgan Frost, and the Flyers really did a good job of taking advantage of some bad defense by Tim Burney, and Morgan Frost was able to just kind of walk up and rip a shot in there, and that would tie things up 2-2. Great job by Morgan Frost recognizing and getting himself a goal. We move on into let me just double check here. What was 5:42 left into the period? You had Owen Tippett getting himself a goal here. Joel Farabee, Owen Tippett doing a great job with some 1-2 passes that really made it difficult for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Owen Tippett, Owen Farabee, that'd be funny. Owen Tippett was able to rip that bad boy into the net, and it would be a 3-2 game here for the Philadelphia Flyers. That leads us now into the third period, where the Flyers have a 3-2 lead. And we know, especially in the past, that for the third period, there's been some difficulties of shutting games down. This one, you start off in the best way possible. Probably the goal of the season. We'd have to look at it as a whole, but this was definitely one of the best goals of the season. You're talking 2:45 into this one. You have Carter Hart with the solid blocker save. Travis Konecny gets the puck in the Flyers zone, goes coast to coast again, and then gets a nice little backhand shot that with a great screen by Patrick Brown. And Travis Konecny, like this goal, I wish I could show this on here because it was a beautifully done goal, and it was so similar to how the first one was done. And that is just the beauty of Travis Konecny at the moment, which we'll talk about in just a second. Great job there. However, though, 9 minutes left. Flyers feel themselves 4-2 lead. Great way to start it off. The Blue Jackets were not going away as Andrew Peeke was able to get on a one-on-one breakaway situation with Justin Braun and has Justin Braun on his heels. Peeke just gets a step on him, rips a saucer shot, and gets it right on the top left-hand side of the nets, getting right past Carter Hart. A 4-3 game now. And now the Flyers just need to play some solid defense when it mattered most. It wasn't the best throughout the game, especially in the second period, like we mentioned. But you give them credit because the Flyers were able to keep any type of threat away from Carter Hart and the net. And the Flyers would get an empty netter by Owen Tippett with little less than 2 minutes into this game. And that would do it. The cherry on top, the Philadelphia Flyers would get themselves a 5-3 game, a good win. This is their third win out of the last 4 games. I mean, this is a team that had, what was an 11-game losing streak not too long ago. It was a tough Western Conference trip that they had little over a week ago. And this team is starting to believe. Honestly, this team is slowly starting to believe. All the outside noises they are just ignoring. You hear these players talk about team first, about trusting each other, trusting the process, and you love exactly what you're hearing. Clearly, there is still a talent gap, and clearly the direction, and more so the people up top in this franchise does need to change because I think that is the bigger problem than what the product is on the ice. But you're going to get these wins and you're going to get these results because the win, what does a win really matter? I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs, but it's the little wins within the games that are more important here. Offense is where we need to start off here tonight because they really, despite the fact that the Jackets dealing with their injuries, obviously, the Jackets also going to Dan Tarasov, which is obviously, listen, he had some terrible attempts of blocks here today, saves here today. But the fact is, the Flyers definitely showed up here today. The Flyers really kept up in this. The offense really kept them in this game. They won the shot battle. It's not something typical of the Philadelphia Flyers. 39 shots to the Blue Jackets 33. They were the better team. They were the better team throughout. And it's not always the case here with the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, you take the injuries and you take Tarasov being in net in consideration. But despite that, the lack of talent is still there. They still are getting the job done. We do need to start off with Travis Konecny, who had himself, again, probably the best game of the season, which is it continues to be the trend with Travis Konecny. Both of those goals, you look at it, and it's crazy how going into the season, the mantra around John Tortorella was that his system does not help with offense. It actually regresses you offensively. And Travis Konecny has been the prime candidate showing you that that's not always the case. Travis Konecny has bought into the system. He has taken care of his defensive responsibilities, and that's why, and he's also worked his ass off, and that's why you saw both of those goals in the way that you did, going coast to coast, showing off the skills on both of those goals. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful set of skills that he demonstrated, and he's having himself an absolute great season. He just netted his 14th goal in this game. We talked about it before. What was it? It was 2017 through 2020, 3 straight seasons where he had 24 goals in those seasons. And he's 10 goals away with what? We're 20-some games into this, almost 30 games into this season. He's going to probably have, barring any further injuries, of course, he's probably going to have his best season statistically of his young career. He's doing exactly what John Tortorella has been asking of him, and it's paying off. And it's funny because a lot of us, including myself, thought that what Travis Konecny is going through right now was going to happen with Joel Farabee. And Joel's been really struggling. I mean, his first 2 seasons in the NHL as a starter were really good. Offensively, he looked beyond his years, but he's truly regressed. Is it the injuries? I don't know. To me, it seems more mental, but we're going to have to wait and see how the season kind of plays out with Joel Farabee, but it definitely does blow. But it does lend to the question and to the topic. If, obviously, John Tortorella has been saying he doesn't want to name a captain, which I don't think he's going to name a captain this year. But if you're looking at who is the favorite to become the captain next year, I mean, you got to point your finger at Travis Konecny. He's done everything that Tortorella has asked. And I think if you ask Tortorella, he would like for his hockey team to play with the mantra of Travis Konecny. A chip on his shoulder. He may not be the biggest guy out there, but he doesn't shy away from any situation. That's very important. And if you're a player, wouldn't you want that to be the guy who leads you on a night-to-night basis? Like, that's a type of dude that I want to follow. And obviously, we just talked about the stats, and the stats speak for itself. And I know the stats really doesn't mean that you should be the captain. I mean, Lionel Messi hasn't been the captain for Barcelona for so many years. Argentina's a different story. I know I'm getting off track, but you guys are getting my picture. Travis Konecny is setting a tone. He's bringing the team up. To me, he's the early favorite for the captain. We could talk about this in the comments. If you guys feel like there's someone else, I know a lot of people want to see Coots still be the captain. I honestly don't know what the future is of Sean Couturier. We got the news here yesterday as well. More than likely, returning back in February, March. What is the point of Sean Couturier coming back this year? Just shelf him. I don't know what the future holds with him, but again, the captaincy is definitely in the favorite with Travis Konecny. The JVR, Morgan, Frost, Owen Tippett line has been the best line in the past, it was like 3 games they've been playing together, probably 2 games, something like that. It's been a short amount of time, but they've looked really good, especially in this game. They looked really comfortable together. You had 3 goals, 2 assists, and 10 shots on goal between all 3 of these players. They were active, and they really contributed a lot to this game. So they really were huge. Frost has been really the one that obviously a lot of eyes on when you're talking about the youth of this team and how, unfortunately, we do kind of struggle with developing players, and that's a topic for another story. Especially when you're considering whatever this plan is with this Philadelphia Flyers team, you're not getting players developing quick enough in order to go through some type of rebuild or retool, whatever you want to call it here. But seeing Morgan Frost getting after it, seeing him feeling more comfortable, and I think just the pressure of, if I play bad, will I get sent back to Lehigh Valley? I don't want to do that. And I don't think he has that pressure this year. Tortorella is allowing him to figure it out, allowing him to make the mistakes to learn from. And I think that's very important for all these kids. You can't put this like extra pressure on these prospects or these young players that say, like, hey, if you screw up, buddy, we're probably going to send you back down to Lehigh Valley. That is just no way of growth. There's no way of developing players like that. And on to that point, Cam York, speaking of young players, he's been looking really good as well. He had another assist here in this game. And the best thing possible was sending him back down to Lehigh Valley at the beginning of the year. I know a lot of people killed John Tortorella for doing that. I know for myself it just didn't make sense because I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? He hasn't looked good at all. in training camp. Like, it's crazy. Where did this regression come from? He had a great season. And, he's really done a good job at Lehigh Valley, working on the things he needed to work on. And obviously, he's back here in Philadelphia, and he's looked really good. In the 6 games since his return to Philly, 1 goal, 3 assists, a +5, and he's been super, super active. And I think that is definitely something that this Flyer team needs. Again, you need young players to step up and to develop, and that's something that you definitely love seeing. Wade Allison came back. That was awesome to see. Again, we're talking about the injuries with this Flyers team, and it's honestly like just getting so repetitive and so frustrating. Like, it's not really, I shouldn't say frustrating, but it's like it's a numbing feeling. Like when you look at the injury list of the Flyers and you're like, all right, well, there's Coots, there's Ryan Ellis, there's Wade Allison, and you're just like, okay, well, this is something that you're kind of used to. But seeing Wade Allison back, I honestly didn't expect too much from Wade Allison, considering the fact that he's someone that just constantly keeps running into injuries. 10 minutes here tonight, definitely could tell that rust was evident with Wade Allison. So we'll see what we can get more from him. Torts put him on the 4th line here tonight, so we'll see what we can get more from him. Every time you're going to play the Blue Jackets, you're going to get the debate of Johnny Hockey. Was it the right move to move on past Johnny Hockey? That'll be the debate of time. Listen, the fact is Columbus and Philadelphia are in the same exact situation. Injuries, underachieving. You got some star players. You got some you're locked up to some contracts. So both teams are in similar spots. But the Blue Jackets decided that Johnny Hockey was going to make them a better team. And if I pull it up right now, the Blue Jackets are literally, how many points we at? They're literally 7 points below us. I listen, at the end of the day, I was thinking about this morning on my walk. At the end of the day, not getting Johnny Hockey is not what pisses me off. It's why we didn't get Johnny Hockey is what pisses me off. Because the fact is that when a star player tells you, I want to play for your team, you got to do what you can to get that player here. Especially when you're the Philadelphia Flyers and you've been irrelevant, whatever you want to bring up the 2020 year. But despite that, you've been irrelevant for a decade. And this is a kid from your own backyard here in South Jersey, wanted to play for the Flyers, and because you gave Kevin Hayes that money, you gave Rasmus Ristolainen that money, Travis Sanheim, I know Travis Sanheim was after the fact, but that you get my picture. Chuck Fletcher's been giving bad contract after bad contract. If you didn't give some of these bad contracts, maybe you could have actually had a chance at Johnny Hockey. Now, would Johnny Hockey fix the situations here in Philly? Honestly, I don't know. Because you got a group of guys who are believing in John Tortorella, and how many games, honestly, going through this season, how many games did you sit there and go like, wow, if we had some type of difference maker that can put a goal in net, that can make a play on the ice, we would have more than 11 wins. Am I right or am I wrong? So, again, like this debate, we still got to wait it out to see, but it really doesn't feel like both teams have really won that situation. And speaking of Columbus and Philly, Cam Atkinson is on the injury list. And Cam Atkinson is now out for the entire season. That trade with Jakub Voracek and Cam Atkinson has turned out to be null because Voracek is having a potential career-ending injury, and obviously Atkinson's going through a neck surgery. Neck anything, especially in a contact sport like hockey, like football, I mean, you got to take that. You got to be extremely careful with that. And the fact that the Flyers were allowing Cam to go out there, forcing him out there with a neck injury, that's why no one takes his medical staff serious. Dude, I really want the Flyers organization, Dave Scott, the Comcast, just fucking step in the doors of the NovaCare. Just, goddamn it, like so many of the issues of the Flyers, the Eagles had the same exact problems. Ineptitude in the front office, injury after injury, terrible medical staff, and look, they fixed it all. In the midst of two seasons, literally one season, 2 all seasons, the Eagles are now a Super Bowl contender. Now, obviously, hockey's a different sport. Building in that sport is different than the NFL. But integral parts like a medical staff, like a front office that actually provides a foundation structure to a hockey team, it's not there. And this is another injury situation. Ryan Ellis, Sean Couturier, I just talked about. What the heck is the point of bringing back Sean Couturier later on this season? And now Cam Atkinson. And I feel worse for Cam Atkinson than I do my own hockey team. Because he can't control this. I do feel for him. And then, of course, you end with the Kevin Hayes situation, which is it adds another bruise to this blemished hockey team. You got Kevin Hayes not showing effort on the ice. He's getting benched in the third period against the Devils, gets scratched against the Rangers, a healthy scratch against the Rangers. He's coming out in press conference or in media availability, and he's essentially not taking accountability and just putting it on Torts. He's the coach. I'm the player. How about this, Kevin Hayes? What do you think, Tortorella is just benching you for no reason? You are a talented player. He's got the most points of the Flyers team this year, and obviously is a team that's lacking offense. But for Christ's sakes, have some accountability. Yeah, you're scoring. Yeah, you're helping offensively. But you also do realize, because I hear you talk about it, that this team is heading into a direction where they're trying to build. They're trying to develop the youth. Heck, do your part. Lead by example. No one's telling you to be this rah-rah leader. But as a veteran guy making the money that you are, I think what we expect is the bare minimum. Leading by example. Playing for the full 3 periods, which he obviously lacks at. And obviously, John Tortorella's comments last night in the press conference, he's not going to give the whole Kevin Hayes update. He believes the media has created some sort of rift between Kevin Hayes and John Tortorella. The fact of the matter is, yes, Tortorella, by benching Kevin Hayes, has created this. But also, too, it's none of the business of the fans or the media to know what exactly happened between the two. It's not. Honestly, it's not. Would we love to know? Oh, of course we would love to know. My mom always has this term in Spanish, el dulce sabor al chisme, which means the sweet taste of gossip. And at the end of the day, we're guys, and we may be all, tough guys, and we may say, hey, we don't like gossip. TMZ Sports, one of the most followed accounts in Twitter. And anytime we got crap like this, we eat it up. Why do you think Philly media asks the questions that they do and get the rap that they do? Because we feed off of this. And I don't know what you do with Kevin Hayes' situation. You can't buy him out because, dude, with the cap situation, with the potential the salary not increasing more than $1 million, how are you going to let him go? You potentially could have almost $3 million on the books next year for a team already strapped with the salary cap. But then on the other hand, Kevin Hayes could turn into a cancer in the locker room. So now you're in a crap situation. And it goes back to Fletcher. How many of us said that signing Kevin Hayes to that deal was too much? And at the time, Kevin Hayes had a great first year. He helped us to the second. He was a big part of the moving on to the second round that year. But ever since then, dude, he's been a disappointment. I know he's put up numbers, solid numbers, but it's not what we've needed. We've paid him to be an integral part of this hockey team. And he honestly has not done that at all. It's been really terrible. What's up, Philly the podcast? We got our boy, Mr. Castro. What's up, brother? How you feeling? Go Birds, man. Make sure you guys follow Philly the podcast. Doing a great job covering the Birds, interviewing Mike Vick. He's doing his thing out there. Appreciate you checking on in, guys. So right now the Flyers are 7th in the Metro. They are 6 points behind the Capitals, 7 behind the Rangers and Islanders, and 8 behind the Penguins, who are in 3rd place. Devils are on a little bit of a losing streak, lost 6 in a row now. They're coming back down to earth. I don't think that the Metro is set in stone, but I also don't think that the Flyers will be in anywhere in type of competing at the top there. Tank for Bedard, as some of these fans say, but we'll see what happens. Next up for the Flyers, a little afternoon hockey, 2 o'clock against the Maple Leafs. We'll definitely be recording a recap for that. We'll see what time, though, maybe a nighttime one, but we'll see what happens. But tonight, obviously, we got Sixers in action here tonight. We'll be recording the recap for that one, so make sure you guys check that one out as they host the Detroit Pistons here. So make sure you check out that one. But guys, that's going to do it for today's Flyers game recap. Again, the Flyers take care of the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-3, and we're on to the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe for more Philly sports. Until next time, I go by the name of Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys, let's go Flyers.